My name is Balak, and I am a lieutenant paramedic at Gainesville Fire Rescue. My thesis is titled The Nexus of Societal Fragility and Extremism. What really sparked me to do this thesis was looking at those who were arrested on January 6th, and the findings suggested that there was a movement away from what people had traditionally thought of as extremism. And so I was really intrigued with why people were deciding to take up more violence in order to air their grievances, as was exhibited on January 6th. So I wanted to look at what constitutes like a civil society and how that encourages democracy and why that's important, especially in the case of United States. So I started looking at other frameworks that were used to measure fragile states. And what I ended up finding is that there were frameworks already out there, but they were extremely biased towards countries that were looking to democratize or that used other forms of government, and not necessarily democracies that were established like the United States. So I used the Societal Fragility Framework to apply it to two instances. One was in the United States with the January 6th event, and the other was in Brazil with the 2022 presidential election. In both case studies, I selected them because there were questions about the threat to democracy, as well as high levels of extremism that resulted in violence. What I ended up finding was that whether a threat is actual or perceived, societal fragility and extremism are still impacted. Not only that, but a historical context of the country is important for understanding societal fragility and extremism. Additionally, fragile societies create an environment where extremism can easily gain traction. This is mostly because of the breakdown of social norms and everything like that. Another finding was that the inability of a government to rectify systemic inequalities negatively impacts both societal fragility and enables the acceptance of extremism as a solution. And this was seen in both the United States and Brazil. Not only that, but political leaders' rhetoric significantly influences societal fragility and the acceptance of extremism. Lastly, social norms have the greatest impact on societal fragility and extremism. Social norms are important to all the other components of the societal fragility framework. Institutions help reinforce the social norms. Social norms also impact our trust that we have not only for each other, but for our leaders of the country and for our institutions. And this also impacts our ability to have social cohesion as a society. This research suggests that when societies are fragile, many of the social barriers that help societies self-regulate, especially social norms, are weakened, thus creating an environment where extremism can grow. Often drawing on a nation's historical challenges, citizens can become emboldened to publicly display attitudes and behaviors not previously considered socially acceptable. Political leaders greatly contribute to societal fragility and the attitudes that influence the us versus them mentality of extremism through their rhetoric. Significantly concerning to the stability of democracies is that the impact of a perceived threat is just as powerful in societal fragility and extremism as an actual threat. This finding presents a noteworthy challenge for democracies due to their high levels of interconnectedness, thus providing several ways for people to connect socially and share information, including false narratives, conspiracy theories, misinformation, and disinformation. Fragile societies thus create an environment that enables the growth of extremism. To improve societal fragility, reduce the appeal of extremism as the main solution for conflicts, and ultimately prevent democratic backsliding, this thesis recommends the following: rebuild a culture of tolerance within society. Additionally, rebuild institutional trust through transparency and accountability. And lastly, implement methods to hold political leaders accountable for their undemocratic rhetoric. I'm hoping that this thesis can provide a basis for more conversations to be had to improve society and our ability to have better discourse and prolong our ability to stabilize democracy for our future in the United States.